So today I want to talk about Google's location tracking. And again, why everybody worrying about the NSA is just so quaint and cute considering what we all do to ourselves. So as you guys know, I got my cool new Samsung Gear Live smartwatch last week, and I've been playing around with it, and I have to say I like it a lot. Now, one of the things that I had to do when I got my Samsung Gear Live smartwatch is I had to configure my Android phone in order to be able to talk to it. And so one of the things I had to do with my Android phone was actually turn on something called Google Now and add a little bit of Google functionality. So with me, one of the things with my Android phone is basically in the past I turned off everything that I didn't need, that I didn't use. So Google services I didn't use and all kinds of other services that I didn't use. Basically, I just stripped it off, right? That's what everybody does. And so, now I had to install Google, set up Google Now and install the Google app and configure everything. And so now what I didn't realize until I started playing around more with Google Now is now that I've added all of that functionality, Google is now actually tracking my smartphone and logging all of that information into history. So with my little watch, I can say things, and it gives me things like contextual reminders. So I can say, smartwatch, basically, okay, Google, remind me to buy cream when I go to Whole Foods. And so this thing will then talk to my smartphone, and when my smartphone sees that I'm near Whole Foods, it will then pull up the reminder, and I will get a little blip on this thing saying, hey, make sure to get cream. So now with my smartphone, it's always tracking my location. But one of the things I did not realize is that it is actually saving that data, and you can go in and you can take a look at it. So this is one of those first times when, again, if you think Big Brother was creepy and scary, that has nothing to do with what Google's doing. So let's go over to the computer for a second, and I will actually show you how specific this information is and show you that, in fact, it really, 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 really is tracking you as you go about your daily life. So as we go, we can see this is my computer, and there's a link below this video, but basically if you go to maps.google.com/location history, that will bring you here. And if you're logged in with the account that you're normally logged in with your Android phone, you can see how Google is tracking you physically in the real world. So this is the 16th today, right? And this shows everything that I've been doing today. So it's been showing me that I was at home. Then it showed, like, when I drove over, I went and saw a movie this morning. So it shows that I went over to Towson. And then it shows, coming back here and then being on 695 and coming back home. So it actually tracks, literally does track all this information. So I can go to the 15th. It can show, all the places I went to on the 15th. I get to the 14th. It shows that I was just sitting at home on the 14th, basically. The 13th. So this just goes to show you, this is all individual tracking. So every single day, periodically or whatever, it actually figures out where you are and it sends that information to Google. You can go and you can look at the actual show timestamps, and here you can see all the different timestamps from when Google collected your location. So I can click on like 12:10 and it will show me at 12:10 on July 13th, I was here, wherever there is. At 3:06, I was there. At 12 a.m., I was there, so on and so forth. And again, like I say, we can scroll through and we can take a look at the different times and the different days. Now, I will say, so most of this seems rather accurate, right? So all this mess over here is rather accurate. And then I have these 2 points over here that don't make a darn bit of sense. So what I think is going on here is all of these points that are pretty accurate. I think this is when I'm using my smartphone. So I have a Galaxy S4. So when I'm using the Galaxy S4 and it picks up the location, that is what I'm guessing here. But what I also did is I installed the Google Now or the Google app onto my my iPad. And my iPad doesn't have a cell connection or a GPS. So what I'm guessing is that these 2 points here probably relate to the IP address or whatever that is getting pulled, possibly for that iPad. And so that's just kind of out of this isn't actually happening. This is because some kind of quirk about where the IP address is being said it is. But otherwise, all of this stuff looks pretty specific. And you can go back and you can click and you can see all of this stuff. So again, everybody thinks that in order to track, like if you need to track your teenager or you want to track your wife or any of that kind of stuff, that you need to put some kind of special software onto their phone or their device. And no, no, it is now totally and utterly built into the device. And one of the things that I'll say, and this is one of the things where you have to be careful about, we talk about hacking, and whenever we talk about hacking, we always talk about complicated hacking, man-in-the-middle attacks and buffer overflows and all that kind of stuff. One of the oldest forms of hacking is simply leaving your system logged in, right? So if you have your system configured to automatically log into Google, or you do not log out of Google when you leave your computer, all somebody has to do is, if you're still logged into your Google account, they can just come up, go to maps.google.com/location history, pull this up and see where you have been going. So if you're worried about, where your husband is going during the day, or where your wife is going, or where your employees are going, or any of that kind of stuff, you can pull this information up and you can track this. Now, if you're an employer, that's the other cool thing, is that if you give your employees company phones and they have Google Apps for the enterprise accounts, you can actually configure this so that you can make sure that all this is happening automatically too, so you can track your employees. But yeah, so this is it. So Google, if you are worried about Google tracking you physically in the real world, do not worry anymore, because in fact, they actually are doing it. Now, if you want more information about how to turn this on or off, basically, again, you go to maps.google.com/location history. If you go down here, it'll say like to show all points, or there's this little button here that says learn more. If you click on the learn more button, it will take you here and it will show you how to do things like change your location settings and turn your location settings on or off. So that is something that you may want to do. But yeah, there you go. So proof positive that in fact Google really is tracking you throughout the day. And what I'll say is this one day here, we have a couple of outliers. Again, that's probably due to some kind of weird IP address recognition. But otherwise, the thing that you should be scared of is that otherwise, I have to tell you, this is pretty damn accurate. Like if my wife came and took a look at this, it would be like, yep, that's basically how Eli spent his day. So there you go. If in fact you were worried, you were scared that Google was going to be tracking your location, do not worry anymore. It is now being tracked. And that's one of the things that we have to be concerned about with all of these fancy devices and all these fancy new services is the more of these services we use, the more of these devices we use, the less privacy we have, the more information that we're giving away. So it wasn't that long ago people were worried about how do you be anonymous, on the internet? How can I surf the internet and not be tracked? And now what we're having to look at with our smartphones and all these devices is now not only are we being tracked on the internet, but we are actually being tracked in the real world, in the real physical space. And what do you do about that? And again, what I laugh at, and this is why I laugh at all those people that are screaming about the NSA, right? Because can you imagine this? I want you guys to imagine this for a second, right? Imagine if there was a brainstorming session like 10 years ago, and all these NSA agents were sitting around with cups of coffee or beer or whatever, going, how can we track everybody in the United States? And imagine if somebody there said, what if we gave everybody devices with GPS receivers on them, and then we could track them all the time? Can you imagine everybody at the table laughing their asses off? Be like, hey, what are we gonna do, man? Are we gonna like, put everybody to sleep and like staple it to them or something? Like, how would you ever convince everybody in the country to wear a device that is gonna track them 24 hours a day? Don't be ridiculous, right? 10 years ago, If anybody said that, that would seem like the most ridiculous thing in the world. And now it is here. It is real. It is live. It is actually happening. And the interesting thing, again, with all these devices is, so again, I have my Samsung Gear Live. I absolutely love my Samsung Gear Live. It really is a great little widget. But one of the interesting things is one of the complaints with this is that you have to charge it every day. And I really have. I've seen people complain, and they're like, it's ridiculous that it only has a day's charge. And they complain because at night they have to take it off so that it can charge. Because a lot of people, I guess, apparently even want to wear this thing to bed. So, is this a watch or is this a leash? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. So it's really, really, really interesting with this modern world. Again, as we get to the whole idea of the Internet of Things, as we get to the idea of the Internet of Everything, as we get to this whole wearable world, the idea that now not only can you be tracked when you're on the internet, but you can also be tracked in physical spaces, and then what does that mean, and where is it going, and all that kind of stuff. So again, I don't know. I'm getting tracked. They can see my boring life. I don't know what to do about it. But yeah, this is one of those things you should be thinking about. I was really surprised, truly. Like I didn't realize this. It was one of those weird things. I was on my iPad, right? How I found this out, too. And this is how it goes. I was on my iPad, and I installed Google Now so I could play with it because I want to do a video on Google Now. And then I was scrolling through all the settings. And then in one of the bottom settings, there was this thing for location services. I was like, huh. And I clicked on the button for location services. And then it said location history. And I went, huh, and I clicked on location history, and blah, bloop, it gave me a whole map of everything that I had done yesterday. And I was like, oh, that's kind of creepy. That's kind of creepy. So yeah. So there you go. In fact, Google is tracking you wherever you go with your Android device, especially if you have the services turned on. And what you do about that, that's all up to you. But this really, 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 really actually is happening right now. And again, if you have any modern Android phone and you pull this up, I'm betting you will see something that looks a lot like this. So just something to think about, Altaro.com, Altaro.com, if you're dealing with virtualization in a Hyper-V environment. So we're talking about Windows Server 2008 R2, 2012, and 2012 R2. Take a look at Altaro.com. They have a number of Hyper-V backup solutions. They have the free version, which will back up to 2 VMs for free forever. They also have the unlimited version, starting at only $400 per host. I think this is a very good value. So if you are dealing with Hyper-V virtualization and you need a backup solution, take a look at Altaro.com. Plixer.com. Plixer deals with NetFlow analytics software. So NetFlow is a component of Cisco equipment that shows you what's going on at the network layer, what devices are talking to what other devices, what kind of network jitter, all of that kind of stuff. So Plixer has a free piece of software called Scrutinizer. Scrutinizer is a free NetFlow network traffic analysis tool. So if you want to play around with NetFlow, if you want to see what's going on with the network layer and you have Cisco equipment, take a look at Plixer.com. Click on the link below this video. It'll bring you to this page where you can download Scrutinizer, the free NetFlow network traffic analysis tool. Veeam.com, Veeam.com. If you just virtualized 100 servers and now you're trying to figure out how to back them up, they have solutions for ESXi, they have solutions for Hyper-V, and as you guys like, they have free stuff. So if you are dealing with a virtualized environment and you're trying to figure out a backup solution, take a look at Veeam.com. Adaxes.com. If you're dealing with Active Directory on a large scale, so you have hundreds of users to add, hundreds of users to disable, so on and so forth, you may want to take a look at Adaxes.com. This is Active Directory management and automation software. So this tries to automate and simplify the Active Directory workflow. So if you are in a large scale Active Directory infrastructure, take a look at Adaxes.com. Spiceworks.com. These guys have the free network management software, the free mobile device management software, the free community with millions of users. So if you're an IT professional and you need support, Spiceworks is a great place to go. All of their stuff is basically free and just an absolutely great thing. Again, if you have any questions that I don't answer in the show that are technical in nature, we're talking about Active Directory synchronization between sites in remote areas. If you click on the link below this video, that will take you to the Spiceworks community. They have millions of users there that will be able to help you out. So take a look at spiceworks.com. Total Seminars, totalsim.com. If you're looking for your A+, your Net+, your Security Plus certification, they have video training, practice test, exam vouchers, and more. If you are on the CompTIA track and you are looking for study prep material, study guides, that type of thing, take a look at Total Seminars, totalsim.com, TOTALSEM.com. NerdsWeCanFixThat.com. If you're thinking about starting your own computer services company, but you don't want to have to worry about coming up with a logo and copyright and trademark and all of those kinds of things, you may think about buying into a computer services franchise system. Nerds We Can Fix That is a computer services franchise system. They have 62 franchises throughout the United States. They can franchise in every state other than Hawaii. They also franchise internationally. If you're thinking about starting your own computer services company, you should contact them, fill out the information below, or give them a call. Again, as I will say, franchise systems are great for a lot of people, not so good for others. Always make sure to do your due diligence, but if you're thinking about starting a computer services company anyway, you might as well contact Nerds We Can Fix That to see what they have to say. So today's hands-on review is of the Phoenix collection, F-E-E-N-I-X, their gaming mouse and their gaming board, and they're both pretty cool things, I think. They're basically pretty cool things. Let's go over to my little demo table so I can kind of show you what's going on here. So this is the mouse pad board thing. So way back in the day, way back in the 1990s, everybody had mouse pads. Who knows why we all had mouse pads? They really didn't do anything, but we all had mouse pads back when we had those mice with balls on them, right? But then for some reason, when we went to laser mice, everybody got rid of the mouse pads. When in fact, you actually need mouse pads for laser mice more than you need them for the ball mice. So what I like about this is, especially if you do gaming or if you do any very specific tasks with your mouse, if you use the mouse on any kind of rough or uneven surface, sometimes it can do really weird things. So with this gaming or this mouse board, it gives you a nice flat surface so that your mouse works very well when you use it. So that seems like a pretty good thing. It's built very well, has nice construction, looks all pretty, all that kind of stuff. So that is their mouse board. And then this is their Necedah gaming mouse. So this is a mouse you're supposed to use for video gaming. Now what I like about it is a few things I like about it. One of the things I like about it is that it's a nice size. I can put my entire hand on the mouse. So a lot of mice nowadays, they've been getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Kind of like, this is my little, whatever the hell this is, the Ultimate Mouse or whatever from the Magic Mouse from Apple. And it's just so small, it actually feels uncomfortable to use. So one of the nice things with the Necedah is it's a nice big size. I can put my entire hand on here and it feels very comfortable. The other thing with it is this is supposed to be a driverless mouse. So you don't have to install any additional drivers to get it to do what it needs to do. And so one of the things it has in here is it allows you to set how sensitive the mouse is. So if I press this button, it goes up 2400, 3200, 4800. If I press this button, it goes down. And so when I move the mouse, that determines how far the pointer moves. So basically, I move the mouse around, and it says how fast compared to the mouse is my pointer moving. So that's all built in. You don't have to have any special drivers, anything like that. The other thing that I like with this mouse that you don't really notice until you start playing around with it is that the low friction material that they use on this mouse actually really in fact is low friction material. So I use this Magic Mouse from Apple, and there's a lot of friction when you move this thing around either on a board or on a table or whatever. There's a lot of friction here, and you don't really realize how much friction there is until you use like this gaming mouse. And this gaming mouse really has a very low amount of friction to be able to move this thing around. And so I like it. I think it feels very good. So overall, it seems like a good deal. Now, if we go over to the computer, I can kind of show you this on their website. So if you're interested in this, basically all you have to do is you go to Phoenix, F-E-E-N-I-X collection.com. Now, the gaming mouse is the Necedah, and it'll give you all the information. Now, the price point for it is $97. I don't know. I mean, for a mouse, it seems expensive, but then again, it's kind of like with all mobile and gaming things. Everything in this category seems a little expensive to me. So it seems price appropriate. Like, my gut instinct is it's a little pricey, but it also seems like how much all this stuff costs. So that's $97. What I like for basically anybody, though, again, whether you're a gamer or whether you're a designer or anything else, this Demora, this is their gaming mouse pad. I think this is a really cool thing. Again, it's a nice little pad. Again, $36 for it. Seems like a high price point, but it is built very well and it does look very nice. So that's just something for you to think about. So this is the Phoenix collection, the mouse and the mouse board. I give them both a thumbs up. Again, the only qualm I would say is the price. Price points seem a little high, but otherwise they're designed very well. They're built very well. They look good. So I think they're pretty good things. So take a look. Again, phoenixcollection.com. Eli gives a thumbs up to these little guys. So this question comes from Safe A. I have a 3-year diploma in business administration, and I'm currently working as a sales executive. I want to change my career and work as a systems administrator. I already have my A+, my N+, and I will be starting my MCSA certification in August. Would you suggest that I go, for me to go and do a 2 to 3 year IT course from college after my MCSA certification? I reside in Toronto, Canada. Well, the question that I have is, what the hell are these diplomas and like IT course thing, right? Are you getting a degree? Please tell me you have a degree in business administration, right? Because if you have the equivalent of a bachelor's degree in business administration, what I would say is what you should do is go for the next level and go for the equivalent of a master's degree. So what you should do, right, if you're dealing with degrees, is if you have if you had an associate's degree in business administration, then you get a bachelor's degree in IT or IS. If you have a bachelor's degree in systems administration, then you get a master's degree in IT, IS. We're not going to get into the fact that you shouldn't be able to go directly into a master's degree in IT or IS, but you can, right? So you should be moving up that degree stack. What concerns me here is because the Canadian model is a lot like our American model, and you're not talking about degrees. You're talking about things like diplomas and courses and whatever that horse crap is. So I'm a little bit scared for you. So what I would say is you should get your degree. Like, you have a 3-year diploma. I mean, I'm not even really sure. You want a degree. You want a degree. I don't even know what a 3-year diploma is in business administration. You know what I'm saying? So basically, I would say go for the equivalent of a 4-year degree, again, like bachelor's degree, and I would say go for the ITIS. I will think that is a lot better for you. Again, the certifications are very, very good in the short run, but really, if you're really going to be doing this field now, if you really want to get ahead, I would argue for the degree programs, and degrees are different than diplomas and courses. Like, we have a lot of people around here, they'll go through 2 years of a vocational program in technology, and that was 2 years of training, but that didn't get them an associate's degree, that got them a certificate. An associate's degree is valuable, the certificate not so much, if you kind of get what I'm saying. So I would say get on the degree track. I really, like, when I'm looking at this, I want to cry for you, because I have a feeling you've gotten screwed 9 ways from Sunday. You want degrees. Basically, what you want to do is you want to go for the next highest level degree in either IT, information technology, or IS, information systems, that you can get into. Get into the degreed program and go from there. And again, your A+ isn't worth anything, your Net+ isn't worth anything, and the MCSA is pretty good, but it's really a beginning level. So go whatever the next degree is, go for that, is what I would say. So this question comes from Darren, and it's another career development question. Blah, 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 blah. I'm deciding whether to go down the whole Microsoft certification rabbit hole, MTA, MCSA, MCSE route. Unsure whether to specialize in server or database tech. I was wondering what you advise. Basically, what I would say, as I would always say, is nowadays I think you should go for degrees. I really, 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 really do. Again, I'm not saying the degree system isn't a scam, but scams still can be useful. If you get what I'm saying, like I don't believe the modern college education system is the best thing out. I don't think it's the best it could be, but I do think it's probably the best current solution. So I would really argue go for a college degree. Honestly, an associate's degree, then a bachelor's degree, and then a master's degree, so on and so forth. When you start talking about Microsoft certifications, the one thing that I'll say is stay the hell away from the MTAs. I even forget what the hell they're called. The MTAs are the lowest. They're like below dirt low Microsoft certifications. I talk about if you're in high school and you get your A+, you should feel special. Like, the MTA is like, I don't know, if you're in elementary school and you get an MTA, they are just really, nobody cares and nobody should care. So don't go for the MTA. If you want to go for the MCSA, MCSE route, okay. I mean, like I say, it's a decent route to get a job. I would say just be careful with it. Again, I would say go for the degree program. But then if you are going for the MCSA, MCSE, and you're asking, should you go for database or the servers? I would argue you should go for the Windows Server 2012 track. Don't worry about database systems. Again, database systems are niche systems, and really, if you're really going to learn about databases, you really should learn how to program. So Python, C#, Ruby, PHP, all of that kind of stuff. So if you learn how to program, and then you learn how to administer databases, that is valuable, right? If you just know how to administer databases, it doesn't really matter. You know what I'm saying? Because you need that programming stuff, and that programming stuff is different stuff, and it's just a whole world. So if you really want to know databases, again, I would say probably if you're going on the Microsoft stack, learn C# and then get your MCSE in databases. But if you don't want to do that, you don't want to learn programming, you don't want to go down that whole little rabbit hole, then leave databases aside, and I would say just go for the standard Windows Server 2012. It's like the MCSE in infrastructure. Just do that. That will be better for you. But again, I would say go for the degrees. Seriously, guys, go for even the associate's degree. Nowadays, I really, really, really believe the associate's degree is going to be best. Because again, these Microsoft certifications, the MCSE is basically going to be done within about 5 years. And so if you're a young person and you're getting into this right now, I think it's the degree. But if you're going to go for the MCSA, MCSE, go for the 2012 infrastructure, and by no means go for the MTA. Again, if you're 9 years old and you get your MTA, yay! If you're 10 and you get your MTA, really? That sounds like something a 9-year-old should do. And this question comes from Mark K. with the Darknet. I really enjoyed your intro to the Darknet YouTube video. However, I did have one question. If using Tor is supposed to keep your web surfing anonymous, then I am puzzled by your comment on not wanting to sign into black market websites for fear of ending up on the NSA watch list. Can you please elaborate on your comment? Yeah, here's the thing, guys. Nothing, or how do I put it? Everything can be tracked online. Everything can be tracked online. The owner of Silk Road can be tracked online. Everything can just be tracked. There is a myth. There is a complete and utter myth out there that states that you can be online and be anonymous all at the same time, and that is not true. What you have to understand in the world of security and the world of espionage is it all comes down to how much the other side wants to pay to track track your dumbass down, or how much they're already paying to do surveillance and you simply walk into the hornet's nest. You know what I'm saying? So even with things like the Tor network, the NSA has been able to break the Tor network. FBI has been able to break it. Golly knows what the hackers are doing. The Tor... The whole idea of Tor is really cute for 14-year-olds. If you are going to use Tor as a component to your what you're doing in order to stay anonymous, it can be a component, but it is only one component. Again, whenever you're talking about security, it's not just about the antivirus, it's not just about the firewall, it's not just about the security policy. It's about 100 things that you use all together to give you that security. And again, that's the thing with the Tor network, and that's the problem with people that use Tor, is they think, oh, I can use Tor and then I'm anonymous. And it's like, no, you use Tor with a disposable computer on a public Wi-Fi network, and you do a few other things, and then maybe sort of kind of you're sort of anonymous. You get what I'm saying? Basically, I would say just in the real world, Tor is only anonymous if nobody really wants to pay the money to track you down. So the final thought for today is I want for you guys to think about how you can communicate in the professional world without creating consequences for yourself that you may regret later, right? So one of the problems that I get into when I am talking with you guys is on this show, right? I am very strident. I am very bombastic. I scream and I yell. And a lot of you guys think this is how I am in the real professional world, and it's not. In the real professional world, I am rather quiet. I listen to what people say. I try to be respectful. I try to be polite, and I don't try to overemphasize things. Again, sometimes I do laugh at CEOs, but that's within a rather nuanced environment. You know, the CEO says something absolutely and utterly ridiculous, and therefore I will laugh at them just so they basically know how stupid the idea is. But then I rein it in very quickly and get back into a very polite world. And the reason is because in the real world, especially dealing with geeks, people can get their feathers ruffled very quickly. And a lot of times, you know, once people get irritated at you or they get their feathers ruffled, things go downhill kind of quickly. So yesterday we had a post that got posted on geekbraindump.com, and on the post there was a link, and that link then went to a pirated video. So basically the post was talking about this new movie that was coming out, and then there was a link on there that posted that basically linked to a pirated video, but the pirated video was in fact on Vimeo. It wasn't on some BitTorrent site or anything like that. It was on Vimeo, so it was pirated but sort of official. But basically it was one of those kind of nasty little stupid messes that somebody like me has to deal with. So I'm the owner of geekbraindump.com, and so I've got to figure out what to do about this. And I was happy that somebody brought this to my attention, but one of the things that I want you guys to think about is when you bring things to people's attention, basically how do you do it? Because when somebody brought this to my attention, basically the comment on the post itself said, "Please remove this post. Copyright Act of the United States, domain geekbraindump.com does not endorse illegal pirating, even if it is on a third-party site." So on and so forth. Basically, this was a comment right onto the post itself, essentially saying to remove the entire post for this one little link. And the thing that I want you guys to think about is when you call somebody out like that, sometimes there's undue consequences. People get irritated about it, people get pissed off about it, then there's bad feelings, so on and so forth. So one of the things that I want you guys to think about about is that when you do see issues in the real world, when you do see problems with your company or with geekbraindump.com, think about trying to approach those problems less stridently, especially us as geeks, right? You know, we want to come in and we want to save the day and we want to be big and bombastic, but a lot of times if you communicate with people in a more level tone, it will get things done a little more easily. Like basically, like with the comment on this particular post, kind of just being like, "Hi, I noticed that the link within this post goes to a pirated video. You may want to change or remove the link," and then to send an email to me for me to deal with the problem. And I would argue that will probably make everybody a lot happier at the end of the day, and then there's no reason for you to become the bad guy, right? That's one of the problems I see a lot of times in the business world, is that people make themselves into the bad person when there's no need to be. There is a boss, there is a leader, there is somebody that's getting paid to make those nasty, horrible calls and get people pissed off at them, and there's no reason to get in the middle of that. You know what I'm saying? Like you can email the leader or you can call the leader and say, "Hey, look, I noticed there's a problem with this person," and then have the leadership deal with it. Again, this is just one of those little things that I would have you guys think about in the real world, is again, the more bombastic you are, the more strident you are about another person's actions, the more likely it is that you're going to offend that person, and then things are going to spiral very poorly. So if you are seeing somebody within your organization or anything else, and they're doing something that you think is inappropriate, I would argue the better thing to do is take that up to the superior, take that up to the leader, have a private communication there, and then let the leadership deal with it, because then the leadership gets paid good money to basically be everybody's enemy. You get what I'm saying? Like, why are you going to call yourself out and make yourself an enemy if you don't need it? You know what I'm saying? That would be my thought. So that is kind of the final thought for today. Again, things that I see in the normal world is, if you see problems or whatever in your organization, try to go through the chain of command and don't necessarily like call people out directly publicly on the problems, because then that's just going to end up irritating a lot of people, and then it just seems bad all the way around. That would be my thought. So that is the final thought for today. Whenever you see a problem, go through the chain of command. I think it's going to do a lot better for you. So I'm so excited that geekbraindump.com keeps growing and growing and getting cooler and cooler and cooler. So if you don't know what geekbraindump.com is, obviously you haven't been paying attention. Because it's my cool new project. So basically it's a new cool blog site for you guys to go and to be able to write about whatever geek topics you want to write about. But I have been adding functionality to it, and I'm really happy to say yesterday I got Comment Chat up and running on geekbraindump.com. So we go over to take a look at geekbraindump.com. What I want to show you guys is that, in fact, we now have a chat bar down here. So if you click on this, you can actually go and you can start chatting with people. Not only can you chat with people, so you can just say things like hello, but you can do smileys and all that kind of stuff. But the other thing is, you can do desktop sharing, you can do audio, video, you can share files, you can do all of that kind of cool stuff. So if you get on there and you see somebody that you really want to talk to and you want to communicate with, you want to help them out, they want to help you out, all of these tools are now available. You've also got the things like a little chat room over here, so we can go and we can see, you know, people, if people are talking or anything like that. So this is the latest and greatest thing. This is something called Comment Chat. This actually did in fact cost me money, and the reason I got it is because I think it's a really, really cool thing. And again, if you haven't taken a look at it, we also have the forums now. So forums, you know, you can go in here and you can ask people questions. questions. We also have the Buddy Press integration, so you can message people. So if I want to click on here and I wanted to message Katie for some reason, I could go here and I could contact her, message her, that kind of thing. So this is all the kinds of cool stuff that geekbraindump.com now has, and I'm very excited for. So if you haven't been to geekbraindump.com, go to geekbraindump.com, and if you have been there and you haven't seen this, this is cool. Literally, I got it up and running yesterday, and I think it's a good thing. So with the chat now, you can text chat, you can audio video chat, you can share your desktop, you can do just all of those kinds of things. So again, that's what I'm trying to do with Geek Brain Dump, is have this be a place that you guys can come together, you can collaborate, you can network, you can do all this stuff, so you guys can create fancy, cool things going in the future. So that's the latest and greatest with geekbraindump.com. Definitely go take a look at it. It's very, I think it's a very cool thing. So go take a look.